Hello learners, welcome to week 12 of BEDS 002. I have been doing socio-psychological basis and this is the last week of your course. I started with week 1 and today we are doing the last week, and in today's lectures we will be discussing the function of media, the growth of media, what is the definition of media, what are the positive and negative effects of media. Wherever we go, everywhere we go, whatever we do, we feel the presence of the media around us. We are able to know what is happening around us or even beyond, because there is a lot of media which has been reporting or which is reporting on what is happening with us or around us. You may have heard people say that media has taken over the world. It is this attribute of all pervasiveness, universality of reach, great popularity and public character that is referred to in the term mass media. Media provides us with information which enable us to take decision not only related to our daily activities but also those which may have life-changing significance, like employment opportunities and higher educational avenues and so on. How did you come across the information about this program of IGNOU? How did you come to know about this particular program which is BEDS 002? In most cases, it must have been either through newspapers, internet, mobile phone, radio or television and so on. And each of these is a media, whether it is this information through the newspaper or the internet or the mobile phone, radio, television, each of these is a media. The impact of media on every aspect of social living and its effects on the social, cultural and psychological environment of man are subjects of pertinent concern today. The discussion is not whether media has effects or not, rather the debate is on the what, how and why of these effects. Today we would try to understand the influence of media and its contribution towards value development. Let us first define what is media. What is the definition of media? Let us begin by what media refers to. In general, media refers to various means of communication. Communication makes us human. We express our thoughts and our emotions through communication. Deprived of communication, we become isolated, lonely and depressed. Man is a social animal, so we need interaction, and interaction and communication is what makes us human, because we are able to express our thoughts, we are able to express our emotions through communication. If we do not communicate, if we do not interact with other fellow human beings, we would become isolated, lonely and depressed. This need for information exchange came about as humans began living in an increasing large social groups. Without the art of communication, human beings as a species would not have prospered. Media therefore refers to the gamut of means or channels by which a human being is able to express himself or herself to other human beings. Media can be the tools used to store and deliver information or data and may be categorized as advertising media, broadcast media, digital media, mass media, print media, etc. It is pertinent to know how Marshall McLuhan, a famous media theorist and critic, defined media as any extension of ourselves. Just as a hammer, which is hatora, extends our arms and the wheels extends our legs and feet, similarly the medium of communication extends our thoughts from within our mind out to others. This is a very interesting statement that Marshall McLuhan makes. Marshall McLuhan says any media is any extension of ourselves. So this is the famous statement of Marshall McLuhan. For example, Let me elaborate on this particular statement. What does it mean? For example, radio, television and newspaper are different types of media which carry messages, providing the public with information and knowledge through news, advertising and entertainment that reach or influence people widely. Today, with the high levels of communication that are available, the levels of learning and knowledge have also progressed concomitantly. So, when we are talking about media like radio, television and newspaper, these are the different types of media which carries messages, providing the public with information and knowledge through news, advertising and entertainment that reach or influence people widely. So, this is what in a way is the statement that Marshall McLuhan makes, that is, media is an extension of ourselves. Now, let me now go on to the growth of media, the evolution of media. How did media evolve? Communication media has progressed across centuries through various technological innovations and improvements. The evolution of communication from grunts. Grunts means making certain sounds, and signs to more sophisticated system of spoken dialects and later scripted languages is one of the most important developments in human history. So, during the time of the early man time, communication was done through grunts, that is, through various sounds and through various signs. Now we are at a stage when there is this very sophisticated system of dialects, languages, which has their own scripts. So, we have seen the evolution of communication from grunts and sounds to a very sophisticated languages or dialects. Now, what follows is an attempt. Today, in today's lecture, we are attempting to discuss, we will attempt to discuss the history of communication technologies in general terms, from oral to the written word and transition from the written to the technical and the digital media. Media today has evolved into a multifaceted entity that has become an integral part of our life. Using available technologies such as the internet, we can now communicate with one another anywhere on the earth or the space instantly. So, now we are going to slowly see one by one how communication through media has evolved. What started was the oral word speech. In the early days, man communicated with each other through sounds and sign language, which later developed into an elaborate system of speech and language. Oral communication is present in our everyday lives. Even from the car, radio provides the latest traffic reports to the professor teaching students in a lecture hall. So, we have oral communication which is present in our everyday life, wherein a person who speaks on the radio, a person who telecasts something over the radio is able to communicate his or her particular messages to the professor who may be teaching students in a lecture hall. So, this is how oral communication takes place. Although oral communication seems practical, it is however not perfect and is at best suited to interpersonal modes, that is, until it is mediated by technology, radio broadcasts for instance. Let me repeat. Although oral communication seems practical, it is however not perfect and is at best suited to interpersonal modes. Oral communication seems very practical because you are speaking to someone and someone who sends a message or messages through oral communication is able to send the messages, and the person at the other end is able to receive these oral messages. However, it is not all the time perfect, because it has to be mediated by technology. For example, a person who is across borders, or a person who is across regions, or a person who is across cities, oral communication is not practical all the time, because you need certain technology. For example, you need radio to broadcast the messages from one place to the other, and if you are not in the same frequency, for example, if you are not able, if you are not in the same place, if you are not in the same region, you need technology to mediate, you need technology to pass on these messages. Oral communication may be possible between colleagues who work in the same place, or they are in the same department, but oral communication is not possible when a person or individuals live across borders, across states, or across regions. The human voice and sign languages are limited in terms of distance again, as information and preservation of ideas required the physical presence of man, which was not always possible. All forms of communications relied on human memory, which, being an imperfect tool, has the possibility of being corrupted or lost over time. There is also a limit to how much one can remember. Various communication media were invented to conquer time and distance. So, when we are talking about oral communication, I have talked about how oral communication is not possible across regions, states, across cities, and also the human voice and sign languages are also limited in distance. This is because there are certain ideas, there are certain information which needs to be preserved, and a human being may not be and cannot remember all the information, all the ideas over a period of time, because these ideas may be lost over a period of time, which is why communication media were invented to conquer time and distance. The written word script. How did the written word script develop? Imperfection of speech led to the invention of new forms of communication based on the key concept of the symbol. So, when we are talking about the means of communication through signs and through voice, we have seen that over a period of time, if you do not store the information, if you do not store the ideas over a period of time, these messages or information will be lost over a period of time. So, what do you do? Men then invented what is called the written word script, and the written word script, writing in all forms, was an important innovation for conquering distance and time. Messages could be recorded and delivered physically across great distances and could be saved for centuries. Today, paper is the principal medium on which a message is carried in the form of the written or the printed word. So, we started with what was called communication through voice and sign languages. Then we moved on to what is called the written word script, where you write messages in the written form, which can be stored, which can be recorded, and which can be carried forward, which can be carried to other places, to other people of the society. So, this is how communication, or this is how in a way the new forms of communication is slowly gradually developing. However, long before paper, hieroglyphics was used by Egyptians as early as 3000 BC. The cuneiform script in Sumerian language of 26th century BC can also be cited as one of the earliest examples of human writing. The modern Western alphabet evolved from the written scripts of Sumerians Cave paintings, pictograms, ideograms were also precursors of modern day writing. So when you see the early man, what happened was they would paint something in the cave. They would do what is called rock carving on the rocks. They would draw certain pictures on the rock, on the walls. This is how modern day writing developed. All these have stayed over a long period of time. You can see in some cases these pictograms, these cave paintings are still in existence, and you can see what are the ideas and what they are trying to tell you, what are the messages they are trying to give you. Papyrus, formed from the stem of the papyrus plant, was invented and used by the Egyptian as early as 3000 BC. Parchment made from animal skins was also used as a medium. Paper formed from slurry of plant fibers was first used by the Chinese in 100 AD. The development of papyrus, parchment and paper made the written word more accessible. So you have the written script, the written words, writing developing from the use of animal skins. You write on the animal skins, then you have written words on papyrus, you have written words on paper. So you see that the written form of communication is evolving over a period of time. Now comes printing. The next important milestone in the evolution of the means of media is the invention of the printing press. Inscribing the message by hand was a very lengthy process, time consuming and subject to copying errors. The solution was found in the invention of the printing press. The movable metal type of printing press was invented by a German, Gutenberg, in 1439. Gutenberg's press changed people's lives. With the evolution of the printing press, ideas could now be stored for future centuries. The use of the written word was also greatly facilitated by the invention of typewriters, and by the end of the 1980s, word processors and personal computers had largely replaced the tasks previously accomplished with typewriters in the Western world. So you have Gutenberg, who started the printing press. Then you have the typewriters used during the 80s, and now we have personal computers, we have word processor, which is now replacing the tasks previously accomplished by typewriters in the Western world. So in the world today, in fact, not only in the Western world but all over the world. So you have the evolution of communication which has taken place from sounds, from sign languages, from writing on the animal skins, writing on the walls of the caves, rock carving, then with the use of paper, then we have the printing press, then we have typewriters, and now we have personal computers which are being used to write and to communicate. Now what happens after all these development? Then we have slowly, gradually, we have what is called telecommunication, which is coming into play. It is now the age of technology. Telecommunication, that is the invention of the printing press, certainly made it easier to communicate. How the telecommunications evolve? Printing press, it was very easy with the printing press to communicate or to be communicated with other people, but it could take days or weeks for the written word to arrive at its destination. So there was a search for a faster way to transmit information, beginning with the use of visual signals like smoke signals, maritime flags, and the use of audio signals like beating of drums. Telephone, radio and telegraph communication in the present days evolves into the use of advanced electronic signals like television, computer network, internet, mobile and satellite phones. So how did telecommunications evolve? How did it come into being? Printing press, the invention of printing press was very helpful. It made communication easier, but it could take weeks, or it could take days or weeks for the written word to arrive at its destination. So there was this search for a faster way to transmit information. So it started with smoke signals, it started with using of audio signals like beating of drums. Then you have the invention of telephone, the radio, telegraph communication. But slowly and steadily, now we have a very advanced system of communication through electronic signals like television, computer networking, internet, mobile and satellite phones. How did this particular communication started? It started with a communication system that used to transmit signals by using light to transmit signals in the late 18th century. American inventor Samuel Morse improved this system by creating a machine that transforms speech into electric signals and then into written words. His telegraph became a popular method to communicate quickly. Then slowly telegraph gave way to digital technology. With a lot of research, with a lot of ideas being put together, we now are in the stage of technology, digital technology. We are now in the age of technology. Computers represented a huge leap in communication technology with its process of digitalization. This technological innovation has made communication faster than ever before. The internet may be regarded as an open communication field which links people all over the world. Chat, email are the norms of the day. They are all examples of how different ways people are communicating and bridging the physical space. Without even taking a deep breath, we have transitioned from email to chats to blogs to social networks. So with digital technology, with the advancement of technology, we are able to communicate with people irrespective of borders, irrespective of space, distance. With the advancement of technology, from the print to the digital media, information is available with the press of a button. Media, as it is said, is just a click away. The revolution that has taken place in media technology has paved the way for an information superhighway, transforming the world into a global village. So in today's lecture, we have talked about the definition of media, wherein Marshall McLuhan says media is an extension of ourselves, which means that through media we are able to spread our ideas, we are able to spread the messages that we want to give through the use of media. So this is what he defines by what is media. Then we talked about how from sounds, sign languages, we have a communication which has been evolving through from sounds and sign languages to written words, written script. Then we have the printing press, the typewriters, then we have telegraph, which develop into digital technology, the use of computers, and also the use of internet, the use of email, which has made this world into a global village, wherein irrespective of your distance, irrespective of borders, irrespective of distance, you are able to communicate with people at the click of a button across the world. So dear learners, with this class I have completed week 1, which is definition and growth of media. In the next class we will be talking about the various functions of media. And thank you for listening to the first week. I will meet you in the second week.